This week I'll show you 10 things that you should know about working in a studio.
AdoramaTV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace, where you will learn innovative techniques on shooting a wide range of photography. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to Exploring Photography. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about things that you're supposed to know about working in a studio, but you might not know these things because nobody told you. And this is one of those things, if you're just brand new and you get into a new studio, maybe a rental space, or maybe you're an assistant, there are things that people just assume that you're going to do, and you might get yelled at if you don't do them. But if nobody tells you, how are you supposed to know? So let's take a look at 10 things that you should know the next time you walk into a studio. Gaffer's tape is one of the most popular things you'll find in a studio, and it's used to secure all kinds of gear and cables. And one of the things you'll do a lot is take cables or a cable like this and secure it to a stand. Well, when you do that, make sure that you bend over the end of your gaff, make a little tab on that, so that when you're finished and you have to tear down a big setup, you can just easily remove that gaff. So always tab your gaff. A lot of times in the studio, you'll be using a rolling stand with a lot of stuff on there, and so you'll need to put a sandbag on the legs to keep it from falling over. Well, what you don't want to do is put that sandbag at the end of the leg like this, because what will happen is it'll keep the wheels from moving, and it can come right off the stand, which can cause problems. The best thing to do is put it close to the center of the stand, and that way it'll stay on the stand, and you can still move that around with no problems. A lot of times in the studio, when you're using a rolling stand, when you get it into position, you want to lock that stand down so it doesn't move. But the problem is sometimes that the wheels are stuck underneath the legs of the stand itself. Well, to get those wheels out without moving the position of the light, you simply rotate that center column. Now the wheels are out where you can get to those with your feet and lock everything down. And that's how you avoid moving your light and still lock that stand down perfectly. Setting up a light stand can be very simple, but it's easy to mess up if you don't do it correctly. Here's what I mean. When you open a simple light stand like this, make sure when you put the legs down, you don't go too far. That is actually making the base of the light stand smaller and makes it less stable. So what you should do is make sure that these supports are horizontal, and that gives you the widest base possible, and make sure that your light stand is nice and stable. Sometimes you'll have a really heavy object on a light stand and you want to secure that when you raise it. And so these are really nice and secure, but you want to have an added extra measure of security just in case somebody loosens that accidentally. And so what is used commonly is a super clamp. You just put that right above that joint right there, tighten it down, and now you have two things to loosen, and that just makes sure that nothing comes crashing down unexpectedly. When you're in the studio, it's almost always dark, and so it's important to wear closed-toed shoes, because if you accidentally bump into something, well, you can break a toe. Now, sometimes it's really hot in the studio and people want to wear sandals. Well, if you do, try wearing some Keen sandals or something that's similar, because although they're sandals, you still have a covering over your toes, and that is going to save your toes and your doctor visits. When you're raising up a light stand, you should start at the top and then go down. Let me show you the wrong way to do it, and it'll make sense. If I start at the bottom and raise this up and get that locked down, and then go to the next one and raise that up, well, now I want to go higher, but I can't because I can't reach it. So what I need to do is start from the top and go that way. So if you start at the top, you can raise that all the way up, then go to the next one, go all the way up, take it to the next one, go all the way up. And now I've got a light that's way up in the air with no issues. When you're done with your shoot and you've turned the lights off, don't move them right away. And here's the reason. If we look inside this, what you'll see is on the center of a light is a little modeling light, and there's a very, very fragile filament. And when it's really, really hot, any kind of jarring can break that, and that's going to cost you about $40 to replace that modeling light. So let your lights cool down for 5 or 10 minutes before you do any kind of movement, specifically anything that jars them. And so that is going to save you a lot of money in the long run. There'll be a time when you'll need to replace the modeling light on your strobe. Never touch the modeling light with your bare hands. The reason is oil from your hands will get on the glass, and then when it's on, it will heat unevenly, and that can cause that light to explode, or at the very least, it will shorten the life of the light. And at $40 a pop, that is very expensive. So what you should do is you'll use a little piece of plastic that comes with the replacement lamp and use that to grab the lamp and replace it. But never ever touch it with your bare hands. Rolling cable seems like something that's very simple, but if you don't do it correctly, what can happen is you can break your cable, that costs you money, and worst of all, you can have a photo shoot that goes haywire because one of your cables doesn't work. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a video cable like this one, or if it's an extension cord or a light cable, you should roll your cables appropriately. Now, if your cables won't behave, you can do something that's called over and under. Let me show you how that works. What you do is you get your first roll, that's the over, then the second one you turn under, and then you go over, and then you go under, and then you go over, then you do under, over, and under, and the next thing you know, you have a really nice cable like that. You can throw it in your box and it works, and when you're ready to unroll that, because it's done correctly, it unrolls exactly right, and it's ready to use out of the box. Well, there you have it, 10 things that you should know about working in a studio. Speaking of studios, you know that all the stuff that you see right here, you can buy at Adorama.com because they have all the gear that pros use. So if you're building out your studio, make sure you check that out. And if you need to learn how to use a lot of this gear, then go to the Adorama Learning Center where you'll find all kinds of articles and tips and tricks and videos all about studio lighting, still photography, working in scenic environments, portrait photography, you name it. It's there at Adorama Learning Center. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week, and I'll see you again next time. And you want to move that object up and keep it really secure. Well, doing that will hide your face. And that's awesome. Too much energy. I love my gaff. And I'm Bryan Peterson saying, you keep shooting. I'm Gavin Hoey. Hi, I'm Tamara Lackey. I love life.
If you want the latest information about exciting products and new episodes of Adorama TV, be sure to connect on social media. Whether you like Facebook, Pinterest, Google+, Twitter, or YouTube, we'll keep you up to date.